All right, the time is 1:59 p.m. on Friday, October 30th for our Windsor Heights construction project update meeting. As we always do, we're going to wait until a couple minutes after 2 o'clock to get started here to give people an opportunity to get joined in. We'll start with some prepared updates for the projects, and then we'll take questions from participants about anything that they have questions on. So stay tuned and we'll get started here in a couple minutes. The time is 2:02. I'm going to hand it over to Justin here to give updates on these projects. And we'll take some questions about each of the streets after Justin's done with the prepared updates. So Justin, you there?
Yes, I'm here. All right, for 69th Street, stage 2 for the week of November 2nd. The contractor will begin working on road grading. Paving for this is anticipated to occur later in the week. All work is weather dependent. It's been an issue here lately. So please remember to place garbage, recycling, and yard waste out of the end of your driveway by 5 p.m. Thursdays for the contractor to pick up. Stage 4, this will be up by University, closer to University. Due to work on University, stage 4 will be started before stage 3 due to access issues. Possibly looking at this, starting this work the week of November 16th. Door hangers will be put out for once we get closer to inform those residents. College Drive project, stage 2, from 73rd Street to 75th Street for the week of November 2nd. The contract will be forming and pouring sidewalks. I'm hoping to get all that done first couple of days of next week. Once that's done, they'll start backfilling. All this work is weather dependent. Stage 3 from Plaza Circle to 78th Street for the week of November 2nd. The contractor will be pouring the remaining intersections and driveways and begin grading sidewalk. All this work is weather dependent as well. We're hoping to wrap all that up by the end of next week. Stage 4 from 78th Street to Harbach. They're anticipated beginning the week of the 16th. The contractor will be putting out door hangers once the work gets a little closer. All this work is weather dependent. Let's see, Allison Avenue, stage 2, which is the middle of Allison to 64th Street for the week of November 2nd. The contractor will be grading rock and paving the street. They're looking at paving the street on Wednesday. Driveway installations will follow probably the following week of November 9th. And then stage 2B, which is the intersection of 64th, is anticipated that this work will begin November 16th. It's a pretty fast one. There's some storm sewer to put in there, and they'll be back paving then. We're looking at that'll take about 3 weeks. Notices will be put out for those people in that neighborhood, along with some traffic control, added traffic control signing telling when that will occur. University Avenue during the week of November 2nd. The work will continue on grading phase 2B, which is on the south side over by 70th Street there. They're starting to install some sub-base rock and whatnot there next week. We're continuing to work on traffic signals between 70th Street and 73rd Street. Will continue, along with some work on electrical and some landscaping stuff near High B as well. This work is all weather dependent. All businesses are open. Just please watch for traffic control changes and workers going in and out too. The 2020 PCC patching finished up this week. They're probably there. They were there this morning, just cleaning up and tarring the joints. So that should be opened up and done with for the year. So that is all of my updates.
Thanks, Justin. Looks like Jim and Larry, we've got you on the call here. So Whitney, I'm not able to unmute these guys. There we go. Thank you. Jim, I've got you unmuted, Mr. Jim or Larry, if you...
This is Larry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Hey, Larry, you got some background noise there. I don't know if you're sitting next to a fan or something.
No, I have done. I've turned everything off. I apologize.
It's a little better. What can we do for you? What questions you got for us today, Larry?
Well, I had raised a question last week about the curb cuts on College Drive at the intersection of 78th Street and College. The curb cuts appear to be 40 feet east of where the sidewalk runs north on 78th Street. And I was wondering why that wide divergence of distance. Curb cuts for the sidewalk is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I thought I replied to your email there, Larry. I'm trying to pull that up on the pull up that map that I showed you. So give me 1 second. I'll pull that up and share my screen here. So just bear with me. All righty, I've got it pulled up. I'm going to try to share my screen now. How to do that? All right, can you see my screen here, Larry?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we're looking at the D sheet, the plan and profile sheets of the college, or the D2 college in 78th Lewin.
Yeah, I didn't understand the need to deviate the sidewalk so far to the east.
And you're talking about right here?
Yeah, that's correct.
So we got to kick that sidewalk over to the east, because if we kept it if we kept a straight ramp, we'd be putting people into this intersection. And ideally, you want to have perpendicular pedestrian traffic over the intersection. And so if we were to put if we put the crosswalk right here, we'd have to angle it back, and it would be a longer path of travel across the road. And so really want to minimize the amount of time and distance people got to spend on the road. So that's the reason that it was kicked over to the east there. Does that make sense?
Well, I hear your answer. It's just we walked that part a great deal, and we've had no difficulty in the past getting across College Drive.
Yeah. So there's largely two reasons, and this is an ADA thing, Americans with Disabilities Act.
I'm familiar with that. I was in construction for over 20 some years. So
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
So the way I like to kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go along with that. Now, I had also raised questions about the sidewalk placement in front of my College Drive house at 8004. And I'm currently 5+ feet from the curb, which enables me with a bad back and even with a large snow blower to get anything that's thrown my way from the snow plows to get it off of the sidewalk or keep it off of the sidewalk. I don't know why the plan is, at least initially here, has been to move it closer to the street than it was.
So is your neighbor 7,900, or are you one more house to the west and south?
No, I just wish it in front of my home at 8004. And then Amy Enright, who lives on to the left of me as I face the street. I mean, we're just trying to connect our sidewalks where they have been in the past.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here.
I mean, I've got a cut on my current driveway as to where the sidewalk was planned back in 1962 when the home was built. Now, we didn't have sidewalks until a few years ago when the city installed them, but at least they followed my request to keep the sidewalk as far towards my home as possible.
Yeah, so the way your current sidewalk is laid out is actually located on private property. And
well, that is my property.
Right. So the sidewalk is actually not located in the right of way as it currently sits. And so when sidewalks are put back in, the standard is to put them a foot off of property pins. So keep it a foot into the right of way. And that's the minimum. And we can take it closer to the street. Now the standard in Windsor Heights is basically the opposite of what you've asked for. So people want it as far away from their house as they can get it. So I think the way it was planned to go back in is like 2 feet off, 2 foot offset from property lines. So I talked to Justin, and Justin's passed it along advice that when they get that poured back to just put it a foot off the property line. But I mean, we can't, I guess it's ill advised to put it.
Why can't it not go on the property line? I don't understand that.
Right on the property line?
Yes.
Well, because then if people are using your sidewalk, they're technically trespassing. And so it's
not if it's on my property. If it's if the south side of it is on my property line, then they're not infringing on my property.
Yeah, I mean, just the standard is to keep it a foot minimum off the property line.
Well, I guess precedent was set when it was placed there, and when the original driveway was installed, showing where the sidewalk would be laid out. So why can't it go back where it's coming out from? I don't understand why we can't make that minor exception.
So I'm just trying to get the email that I sent back to you last week pulled up here.
You said you talked to Justin and confirmed that this will be adjusted and moved as close to your property line as we can get it. Well, yep. I'd like it on the property line.
Yeah, so I guess I'll follow up with you again on this one, Mr. Wood, but
Okay.
we're also sitting a ways out on this one. So yeah, I mean, we'll work with you and get as close to your property line as we can. But what you said in your email is that you wanted it put back the way it was. And my response was, it can't go back the way it was. It's not going to go back onto private property. We'll do what we can to get as close to the property line as we can. But then one of the other questions is, why didn't we ask people where they want the sidewalk? I mean, if everybody had their druthers on it, let's say you wanted it as close to your property line as we can get it, and the people on either side of you wanted as far away from their property line as they can get it, well, then it would be, I mean, I don't know if we're going to make everybody happy on this. You know what I mean?
Well, the problem you have is that there's been so much deviance in where the sidewalks have been placed. I mean, my next door neighbor, Dan Austin, his is within 2 foot of the curb. And he has horrendous problems keeping ice from the snowplows off his sidewalk and available for kids to walk to school.
Sure. Yeah, and that's definitely, yeah, I guess that's, so I'm pulling up the removal plan and the new install plan. So yeah, I guess we'll be mindful of that going forward. It's just
okay,
I
appreciate anything you can do to assist on that area. I've had 2 back surgeries, and even with a large snow blower, I have difficulties. And all I'm asking is do the best you can on this.
Yeah. I mean, we want to accommodate where we can here. Just the standard is absolutely not to go on private property, which is what I understood your original request to be last week. And so, got to look and see how we can transition between your sidewalk and your neighbor's sidewalk. So, now, Justin, am I speaking out of line here? Can we make the adjustment and just, we talked about this last week, just bring it close to the property line, and there's not additional cost to that or anything, right?
No, yeah, we can move it as close. The reason why we generally keep it a foot off is that if some time in the SID, it has to get repaired, generally, if you put it right on the property line, you're bound to get into the private property, right? So if you give that foot, the foot's really a buffer on that one, so you can in the future come through and fix anything or that way. So,
well, gentlemen, just do the best you can, and I would appreciate whatever you can to assist me. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Is there anything else we can do for you today?
One question: with the later start now projected for phase 4, do we have provisions in the construction contract for a decent retainage to come back and repair anything that may not be correct in the spring?
Justin, I'm going to defer to you on that one.
General contract is 5% of the whole construction cost.
Well, my concern is they're going to try and hydro spray or do something for lawn seed, and who knows if that's successful. And I mean, I always replace everything with sod when I did it, but that doesn't seem to be the policy here in Windsor Heights. So I just wish to make certain that there are adequate funds there, and unless they treat that concrete pretty strongly to prevent or to allow the concrete to cure here, it's going to shale off when we put ice melt down on our sidewalks.
So we don't accept the final project or the final product of the street
until spring, I hope. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, so before we issue any acceptance and anything like that, we walk the project and put together a punch list items, and seeding and restoration is one of the punch list items always on a project. So they're broken down by address, and it'll have to be restored to standard. There's a standard out by Iowa SUDOS on how it's got to get restored, what's acceptable and what's not. So I can say that on the phases that we've done restoration on so far on this project and other projects, been very pleased the germination and coverage of the seed. So that's not to say that there won't be some work to do, but so far I'm very pleased with what we've done. Now, if you see them out there, one of the questions that I've got a few times over the last couple of weeks, I guess, is that if you see them out there spraying stuff on it yet this fall, we do not expect that to germinate and propagate this fall or in the winter. So there'll either be no seed in that tackifier solution they're spraying down. It's purely an erosion control mix. So it's like a wood pulp and a dye, and it just holds the dirt in place. Or it'll be a dormant seeding, and we don't expect it to germinate until the spring. So, if you see them out there seeding it, don't be too alarmed about it. Okay. They're aware of it. Anything else, Larry?
No, you've helped immensely here. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, Larry, I'm going to put you on mute here. Jim Willits, do you got anything you'd like to ask? Hey, Jim, I've got you unmuted if you got any questions. All right. Susan, you got any questions?
I don't have any questions right now. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Chief, do you got any questions?
I do not.
All right, thanks. All right, well, time's 2:22. Typically on these meetings, we waited until about 2:30 to see if anybody else hops on. So I'm gonna mute myself and we'll hang out until about 2:30. These updates will be provided in writing on our website under the project updates page, and a recording of the Zoom call will also be posted on that page. So have a nice weekend. Time is 2:30 on Friday, October 30th. We haven't had anybody join our meeting here for the last about 8 minutes or so. So we're going to end the recording. As I said earlier, written summary of the updates for the projects will be posted on the project update page of our website, along with the recording of this Zoom meeting. Thank you.